Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Thank you for joining us. If you can give us a big thumbs up, if you can like, share, subscribe to our channels, we would greatly appreciate that. We are continuing towards that goal of helping 8 billion, 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. We haven't even hit 8 billion people in the world quite yet. So that's why I chuckled a little bit. And we're doing that with the help of you, partner organizations, and just fellow human beings that want to help others, and whatever that looks like. Not all of it is monetary. A lot of it is just spending a little bit of time volunteering, or even on social media, liking, sharing, suggesting ideas. Those are all ways to help us reach our goal. And if you've known about Voices for Voices, anything in the past, we are and have really started to hit some pretty big goals for us internally, to get to that point. We've had a number of very grateful media spots where we had the opportunity to show the brand, Voices for Voices, talk about the brand, among others. We're doing a whole lot, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of brain power, right? We know that we don't always just get tired physically, that we can get tired mentally. That could be considered the term burnout, hyphenated burnout, or two words. I guess it would be burnout. And really that just means we're exhausted from thinking, from, as a previous episode we talked about, refreshing. We were a little bit addicted to that, refreshing our news feeds, our emails, our apps for the newest and latest information and feedback. And that can take a toll. It has taken a toll on me, working through that. But one of the reasons I'm able to, at this current time, is because, as you've heard me talk before, about the importance of the work we're doing, importance of the stories, of the content that we're sharing, the guests that we are very grateful to interview and share their stories and share where they've been and where they're at, and share their goals and tips. And again, it's a lot of work, a lot of little things to kind of go in behind the scenes that many people don't see. They just see the finished product. They see or listen to our episodes, which we're very close, if we haven't already, hit episode 200. So that's pretty awesome. You've heard me talk about hitting episode 300 by the end of 2025. Well, before we can get to 300, we have to reach 200. And we're just a not even a quarter of the way through 2025, and we're at 200. Yeah, and we just have some really neat things that we're doing, and neat guests that we're able to share, both in studio and remotely. Uh, I've been able to, I guess one area that I've wanted to be a little more focused on this year, and it can be considered self-care, uh, lowering of stress, and we can do that by a number of different things, and for each of us those are going to be different. And one of those things for me is playing my guitar. Not great. I know the basic chords. I'm not a not a educated singer by any stretch, and I've wanted to in 2025 be a little more focused on that little niche for me, because I like doing it. It does reduce stress, even though it is stressful trying to remember the progression of the chords. So, for instance, as we would count 1, 2, 3, a song, the progression might be the chord A, then C, then D. And so those are things that I have to remember playing certain songs. And then every song has a little bit of a different chord progression. But anyways, regardless of how bad I think I am, or not great at it, the emotional tie, the way it makes me feel doing it, and then afterwards, it really is kind of a helpful thing for me to do. And so far in 2025, thus far, I've been able to do a little bit more intentional, focus guitar playing / if you want to call it singing, call it talking. And so we've been able to do a couple of songs. I think we've done more than what we've put out, which is incredible that we still have a lot of incredible content that is still waiting to be scheduled, because some current events happen and come up. We like to capitalize on that, and so I believe we have out there Memories from Maroon 5, Cruise from Florida Georgia Line, and I don't know, that might be all. I might be missing one. I'll take a look after I film this. It's not really important. I don't have super structured goals when it comes to it, other than when I ruminate and when I do my refreshing of emails and the like. If I'm able to take some time away from that and practice a little guitar, maybe learn a song or two, and figure out if that song or those songs, plural, will be something that we'll put out for kind of the world, because we are worldwide, which you've heard me say in another episode, that it's really starting to hit me that we are worldwide, that we have a global audience. You've heard me or seen me say, over 50 countries, over 550 plus cities across the world. We are based here in Northeast Ohio, where we spend most of our days. And I'm not sure really why. I just as of late started to feel that way, of really feeling the momentum, and that we're just continuing to expand and expand content, audience wise, each and every day, and really by the hour. And then as I'm sitting here talking, or whether I'm in the studio, and when I'm in the studio, I guess it's a little bit easier to be a little bit not as I have more things to focus on when I'm in studio. So sometimes we'll have the teleprompter, and there'll be lights, and lights really do affect me on the autism spectrum. And so I focus on whichever camera that I need to. And really the cameras are like kind of that big as far as where I'm looking, so I can kind of generally look in that direction. And then when we have guests, whether they're coming to us virtually or whether they're in studio, try to remain and have that eye contact with them, and not worry which particular camera is being used. And there's 5 different cameras that the staff toggles in between. They've known me pretty well after doing quite a few episodes, so they understand a little bit of my lingo, and probably how my eyes shift, and so they're able to do a great job there. So I have a few different things that can take my attention when I'm in studio. When we're shooting remotely, whether it's a solo episode like this, or whether we have a guest with us, I guess my mind is able to expand a little bit. And it's interesting because when maybe expand, I think it's the right word. It's what I mean by that. I mean that one of the biggest things that as human beings we get afraid of throughout life, there's obviously taxes, dying, public speaking. And when I started kind of my public speaking in college, it's definitely super nervous. And again, I medicated with alcohol and the like for quite a while. And that was kind of my go-to, but the way I could continue and do what I needed to do, whether that was a speech, a presentation, and kind of get through it, because that's kind of the deal, right? Is get me through it. Just like I had blood work done a couple weeks ago. I was like, just get me through it. Just get me through this. And with speeches and interviews or the like, very much the same. Get me through this speech. Get me through this presentation. Interviews for jobs, for scholarships, for anything, any type of interview. When I'm being interviewed, it really just consumes me. My mind's racing all over the place. What do I want to, what topics do I want to make sure I share? And we just have a flurry of activity going on in our head. And that's very much the same with me. And so when I'm in studio, I have several things to kind of focus on or just be aware of. That's kind of that flurry of activity for me in my mind. When I kind of come out of that studio setting and it's just a camera, even if I have a light behind the camera or not, whether it's the camera we're using now or we have a couple different cameras that we use. And the big thing now is just the time. So to make sure that the best I can to stay, around 30 minutes if at all possible. So that's kind of the big milestone for these remote episodes. Because when I'm in studio, there's a clock and I'm able to follow that. And so for someone like me that I also have ADD, ADHD, I guess use that to my benefit, I guess. So whereas when I was using substances and alcohol specifically, mostly, that's where I was focused. I was focused on, okay, when am I going to get that next drink? And not even the drinking of every day, but more the binge drinking on weekends of, well, I got to make sure I have something at home, to pregame before I go out, and where am I going to go? And that's what was occupying my mind. Whereas now I'm taking prescribed medication for my diagnoses, and I'm able to use a high amount of that energy towards the show, the organization. And that's huge because I really redirected kind of that energy from something not great to something a lot better. Again, nobody's perfect. I'm not claiming to be. Where I'm at, though, is in a much better spot with the energy. So that flurry of activity for the show in studio is where I experience a lot of that flurry of activity. What question progression, what answers have been given, and where should we go from there? And so there's just a lot that I've learned over time. So my interviews now are much better than what they were when I just started. And that's just like any athlete or anybody. And the more practice you have in general, the better off you're going to be. Does that mean you are so much better? And no, it just means we're moving that pendulum. We're moving in the right direction from where we started. Just like if we're studying for an exam or a test, if we study for 5 minutes versus 10 minutes, and then we take a break, and then we do 5 minutes, and whatever that is, the more our mind gets kind of conditioned, the better off we're going to be. Just like when we take an exam, when we see what type of questions are being asked. And so we know going forward, when we study for a future exam, quiz, we know what to look for a little bit more than when at the beginning we didn't really know what to expect. Is it fill in the blank? Is it exam? Is it essay? It is a multiple choice. Is it true, false, combination? Whereas again, when I'm doing these shows remotely, my mind is able to be a little bit more. Since I've done it quite a bit, I'm still nervous. I still get nervous every time before I start. But for me, in these remote episodes, I'm able to settle in, and while there is still some anxiety, there's much less than in studio. So I'm able to, when I say sit in it, I'm able to, in my mind, instead of ping ponging between which camera, what question, where am I at, time wise, what type of delay do we have if we're on a Zoom call, a Zoom interview, and instead of that, I'm able to really sit here a little bit, or a lot more calm, and able to think a little bit more clear in the given time frame that we have. So when I talk about recognizing, and it just starting to hit me about how worldwide our organization really is, and how worldwide, and how many people worldwide from all over the world I can't stress that enough, that we're helping, we're sharing information, we're sharing content. We've just come so far, and if we didn't have goals, these huge goals of wanting to help 3 billion over the course of my lifetime and beyond, I don't think I would be in this position where I would be kind of starting to feel a little bit of that weight. Because to you, right, you're watching or listening, it probably sounds and looks very similar than what you've seen before or heard before. But to me, with the camera setup that we have for this particular episode, it's much, I would say, like smaller, in that, right, they're just different size cameras, and you can use a phone, you can use a GoPro, you can use a variety of cameras. And so with the camera setup we have now, I'm truly looking into, I would say, like a little bit of a dot, but kind of a small area. And to know that small area in general, compared to other cameras that we use, just depending on availability, if they're charged, if we have memory, and how many episodes we're going to film, and those types of things, to know that we are reaching so many people, and that has been the goal, and we're not done yet. We're not anywhere close. But just to see how far we've come in a short period of time, we're hitting 200 episodes for the show. We're gonna hit 300 by the end of 2025. Our guests are just amazing, and we're just really grateful to be able to bring those interviews and content to you. Some's ultra serious, some's a little bit, more lighthearted, and just what's going on in life. But just know that no matter what is covered behind I say behind my eyes. If you if you check out any of our social media, there's one post in specific, and I believe it's 9 different headshots of me, so pictures of my face at various times, doing various things, and it says something like, the faces of depression. Sometimes some of those I'm smiling, some of them I'm not, some of them I look down, and so no matter what type of episode, the content, the individual or individuals we're interviewing, whether it's in studio, whether it's remote, I'm still a person that is going through active mental illness recovery. And for anyone that needs to hear that, you're not alone. You're not the only one. We're all going through something. Some things are similar, some things are different, but we're all going through this thing called life. And it makes me feel good being able to share like this. It very closely replicates, say, like therapy, when I go to my therapy appointments, because I'm just sharing, I'm talking about topics, things that are going on in my life, that have gone on, that are coming up, that are currently going on, things that are in the works, and having, okay, well, we want to do 300 episodes in 2025 overall, and so some things we're working towards. But just know that no matter what we're working towards, that every episode, no matter how easy it looks to you or sounds to you, I'm still somebody that is in active recovery, and I get curveballs thrown at me all the time. Good days, bad days, a combination. Yeah. And I think that's what I want to really convey. And we do from episode to episode. Sometimes we talk about that and the stigma, and we can't do anything about that. We for me, I just keep my head down and trying to stay as busy as possible at the organization and trying to bring the best content and help as many people. We got the reentry program going. We're helping a ton of people that way. But we were running for about half of 2024. That we've seen a couple episodes with the individuals who lead that here in Summit County, and so we're out. I'm spending my time just again keeping my head down and working. So yeah, that does lead to burnout from time to time, but I'm using that, as I mentioned earlier, that nervous anxiety energy for things that are hopefully much better, as far as much healthier than binge drinking on weekends or whenever that was. And so am I doing everything else perfectly healthy? No. But I've eliminated that aspect and some toxic behavior that I'd been doing for quite a long time. So that brings us, oh wow, so we're right at 30. So again, thanks for all your love, your support. Give us a big thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, follow. And until next time, be a voice for you or somebody in need.